Hey, it's Brian Lawton here, and I'm with my good friends and the owners of Lark Restaurant in Janesville down on Main Street, a place the community has really fallen in love with, not only the brand that you have and the product you have, but the two of you for sure and your staff. And I just, these little conversations are small business conversations and the effect COVID-19 has had. And we're all sort of journeying through this. It's all new to us. Here we are on a Zoom call and we're recording this, which is kind of a new way to have conversations about business. But I think it's important to just talk to more and more people about what's happening. I mean, we filter through SBA stuff and all the information from the government on funding, and it's all overwhelming. And really, in the end, what we need probably is conversations like this to know how we can support each other and just, what we're all going through. And I welcome you and I thank you so much for just taking a few minutes to chat. I'm excited to learn more about what others are going through, and because we're all going through the same thing. So how are you guys doing? There you are in your home. You've got Basie, I'm sure, next to you there.
Mm-hmm.
How are you, first of all?
We're healthy. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah.
And we haven't annoyed each other too much yet,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
all is good in general.
Yeah.
Good. And I don't think I said your full names at the beginning, but Richard Neeno and Joan Neeno of Lark Restaurant joining me. And you're good and you're healthy, and that really is the main thing. And I'm sure you've been in communication with your staff too, as we have. Like, that's the first thing: is everybody safe? Are you okay? Is there anything we can do to help?
Right.
And we've sort of all crested that wave in the first couple of weeks here, and now what? You had to close your doors as a restaurant and bar. Talk about that experience, what that was like, not only physically hearing the news. I think it was a Tuesday that came down to you guys in the afternoon maybe, but then just the emotion of all that.
Do you want to take that one?
Well, it was greatly difficult. It was borderline crushing. I mean, the idea of closing Lark, and most significantly, the idea that 11 other people were going to be out of a job was horrible. And there was so little that we could do to help them. We, haven't been in the cash position where we could continue to pay them. We're working really hard to make sure that we have the funding just to pay our fixed costs as we go forward for what is an undetermined amount of time. But having to close Lark was difficult, very difficult, and most so because of our associates, our employees.
Yeah, our staff is like family, and I'm sure, Brian, you know that. You spent some time at our restaurant. One of our chefs recently had his first child, and it was a premature baby, and happened to come home the day before we made the decision to close. And we were scared for him even being there, and he's like, no, I want to be here. I want to be part of this. They've been amazing. Closing was really hard. It's been our life's dream, and it's their dream too. They really believe in what we're doing and have been so amazingly supportive. And so that Tuesday, well, a week before, we have staff meetings on Tuesdays, and a week before, I was talking about menu covers and sterilizing, the hand sanitizers. And there were some eye rolls, and people were like, you're being paranoid. And a week later, we're getting together and going, well, should we close? I mean, that's how fast it went. And we had to make a decision if we wanted to do carry out on an ongoing basis, or if we were going to close. And we made that decision mutually. We wanted the staff's opinion. We were of the opinion walking into that meeting that we should close, but the staff basically said to us too, yeah, we need to close. So at least we had the support of our team to make those decisions that were really hard. And we really just appreciate that so much from them.
Yeah, you mentioned the passion project, really,
Yeah.
that your business has become, and it's become for so many of us as business owners and all through the country, but certainly here in Rock County, Wisconsin. And that's such a good point because there's like I say, let's stay safe. That wave comes, and then it's just that you're in crisis mode as far as problem solving, right? And then you get through that mode as you all did, and then there's that delayed wave that comes about your your personality, your emotion, who you are, your identity is caught up in that. It's a blended world. People say work-life balance, which I've never really known to be a thing. It's more of an integration,
Yeah.
and that's sort of what you're describing. And I think that's what we're feeling now. What you're describing is that second wave of not, what do we do? Joan, you've done a nice job. One thing I see is your problem solving here. We don't want to just focus on negativity, but you've been posting, cocktail ideas and stuff in the evening to sort of keep connected to your restaurant community. Are there other things you're doing to keep Lark connected with its community right now, or ideas you have coming up?
Yeah. Well, it's been a balance. We want to be mindful that everybody's Facebook feed and their inboxes are clogged right now, right? So we want to be mindful of being relevant while staying connected. So I just actually talked to Billy Berg, our amazing bartender, today. He's driving back from Illinois and he's full of ideas, as is Billy's way. And so we will start doing some online happy hour type things with Billy making cocktails with guests, not physically, but through Zoom or some other technology, probably starting next week. And I think that'll be a nice way for us to at least virtually gather around the bar as we usually do a couple days a week. So, it is a balance though, and we don't want to be tugging on the sleeves of people who have other more important things to pay attention to. So we're trying to be mindful of that. So we're not posting a ton, but anything we can do that kind of brings comfort or familiarity is something in the coming weeks that we will try to do.
What sort of silver lining, if there is one, are you beginning to recognize? You're starting to see that in social media right now, people recognizing that, this isn't just a negative thing necessarily. It's a struggle. There's going to be pain. We're going to have to get through it. But, the connectivity of it, it seems to be, inside a family or inside a household seems to be something positive coming of it. Our society learning how to virtually do things in a very quickly, getting better at it. But what other silver linings have you seen in your own small business, do you think?
Well, one would hope that there'll be something gained in appreciation for what you don't have, one doesn't have. So that as we go forward, we can appreciate our wonderful staff yet more than we currently do, and one another. And hopefully people will appreciate what they've lost by Lark not being in their lives. Beyond that, in the more practical, this has given us a lot of time to sit and think and talk about the future and how we want to go forward. We're going to be writing our employee manual. It's given us a lot of time. And
which Richard isn't as thrilled about for the yard work that has given us time to do.
But it is a gift of time, and as long as one can stay afloat financially, as one of our neighbors said, since we don't have 3 young children running around the house screaming, he said, well, you're on a staycation. He said he's not. And I can appreciate that.
I think a silver lining is that the outpouring of support we got from the community we knew it was there to an extent, but we're still getting people buying online gift cards. And that is astounding to me. We have people checking in on us and, sending me cocktail pictures and saying they miss us. And that's a real silver lining. It says to me that what we did mattered, and what we will continue to do in the future matters too. So that gives me a lot of hope, because sometimes, the restaurant industry isn't a road to riches. Let's just put it that way, right? We operate on tight margins, and sometimes the dining room is not as full as we'd like. And that can bring you down sometimes. And I'd say the last couple of weeks, and seeing the outpouring of support from our community has been really heartening, and it's made this time a bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're still selling online gift cards. Part of this is getting the communication out there. I think a lot of people feel like they can still support small business in some way, but they're not really sure exactly how to. They might be willing to. So for you guys right now, your business model isn't really the curbside, pickup,
Yeah.
basically, right? You did that for a few days to run through some menu items and stuff, and people kind of that few day period for people to go into their Lark withdrawal, I'll call it, right? But what can people do in our community to still support you right now?
Online gift cards. We are still selling some of our wine inventory, so that's another area. If people want to contact us through info@larkjanesville.com and check with what we have left. Sending us notes, contacting our staff. If you're friends with some of our staff on Facebook or something, send them a note. Everyone's feeling really weird that they're not serving people and not having that social outlet that owning a restaurant provides. I mean, restaurants are really a community gathering place, and to own a restaurant when you can't community gather is really strange, right? And so we by nature are people who like to host, who like to talk to people and hear about their day, and we can't do that right now. So reaching out to us through social media and just saying hi and we miss you would be great.
Yeah, that speaks to that emotional part we were just talking about, that emotional wave that has now come, I think, for many of us. And what a great way to kind of express that. So they go to info@larkjanesville.com as the inbox they can send notes to, or they can check on inventory or a gift card or something like that.
Or post on, write us a note post something on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
We have plenty of time to look at emails and social media. So we'd be thrilled by that. We had someone just, I think yesterday, who tried to make the Brussels sprouts themselves.
Oh.
and sent us a picture, posted it online, and said they missed us. And that was so neat, all that stuff helps. And yeah, whatever you can do. We know people have their own issues right now, and ours are no worse than anybody else's, and we're just appreciative of the support.
Well, I think we're all in it together, and that's
Yeah.
kind of
absolutely.
it is a community thing at this point, and we need to listen and find ways to help and stay connected. And in the time of distance, in the time of social distancing, as you're saying, Joan, right now, is we need to find more ways to stay connected and not be emotionally distant too. So, and that includes businesses. What are you seeing out there from your Main Street friends or your other small business friends as far as, how are you spending your day? I guess that's two questions, but what are you seeing kind of in the small business landscape as far as struggle or wins or just positivity maybe? And then also, how do you spend your day now? What do you do?
It's hard to say exactly what's going on. We're trying to get a handle on how much business is in fact being done, because we've been struggling with the idea that we're not doing carry out, and how much business are we missing. And trying to get a read from other people as to how things are going for them. The consensus seems to be that our sort of food doesn't translate well to that sort of medium of carry out. My fear is that even the more casual places are not doing tremendous day-to-day business. And then, of course, so much of our time has been spent lately reading all the various articles written about the future of restaurants and what a huge percentage probably aren't going to be around in the future.
And doing SBA paperwork.
Oh, and doing a lot of SBA paperwork. Yes.
Shifts and changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I have another job, so I'm still working full-time remotely, and ironically, that's been incredibly busy the last 2 weeks. So I haven't had a lot of time to contemplate things. I've been pretty busy.
Yeah. What about you, Richard? What do you do when you're normal? Like, Joan has her job that's keeping her, busy. Obviously, Joan's also thinking a lot about the restaurant and the future of your other visions and plans. But what about you, Richard? What do you do to keep, other than SBA paperwork right now?
Worry takes up a lot of the day. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Part of the problem of being quarantined, sequestered is the lack of a routine. And everybody says that to be successful in quarantine, one should have one. So, I go through the financials in the morning, which doesn't take very long any longer. I'm looking at various websites in the restaurant industry, reading about what's going on. There's the occasional podcast to listen to from Forward Janesville and other parts of the industry to keep in touch with what's available to us and how things are developing. With each passing day, I have less and less that I have to do because Lark is that much farther away from us in terms of time. There aren't very many bills left to pay. There's not much income to take care of. So with each day, I have a little bit less to do.
But, as you know, Brian, we did have plans to expand, to open a second restaurant, and obviously, and the upstairs, which was going to be event space. Event space doesn't seem like the greatest investment at this point. So that all of that is on hold, but we're not giving up on it. We're definitely planning on doing it, hopefully next year, if not later this year for the event space. It really just kind of depends on what happens with, the government and this pandemic, right? So there's some planning that I know Richard has been working on. And I feel like once we come out of this time period, we should be really prepared on that front. And so, we're trying to make the best of that time.
Yeah, that is a key. I think one of the themes I hear from small business leaders and owners right now is, either you're in that phase, the preparation phase, the really getting into your a routine and, finding ways to add value back to your business in some way. It doesn't mean you're out asking for business, but just, in our business, the spring, creates this longer and longer and longer list of to-do items because we get too busy. As you say, you're writing your employee manual and you're adding some value back to your business. And that is one theme that I hear as a struggle. People are kind of in two camps right now, maybe three. They're like FIAD teacher, math teacher, reading teacher by day, with the kids home or whatever. But then, and then also trying to stay busy with adding value back to their staff, their employees, their business itself. But there is another camp right now that is struggling emotionally with it, or almost maybe denial or something like that. And that's hard to watch because you don't want to see people fail come through this. It does take a lot, like you're saying.
Yeah, I really think that how you react to this you can either take this as an opportunity, even an opportunity that truly sucks, right? None of us wanted this opportunity,
Right.
but it is an opportunity to do things that I have a laundry list. Poor Richard. I like to create spreadsheets of things we should do. And there's been about 40 things on there for a while. Now we can start ticking through them as far as long-term strategic planning. And, we've already started discussing how we reopen Lark, because the world may be different when we reopen.
I know a lot about that. Like, who's going to be the first group of people to show up at restaurants? Do you know what I mean?
better.
Yeah,
What's
well, you better be at the bar.
Yeah. I'll sit at table 7, you sit at table 4.
Okay, that sounds good. But yeah, to your point though, I mean, we might have a half capacity thing when we're allowed to reopen. How do we make enough money if we can only let 25 people in the door? How do we perhaps gear up to do more takeout? I mean, we've been talking about, one of the things that we've been developing is this whole idea of sandwich bar, which would be, this fun place for sandwiches and stuff. Do we start basically having sandwich bar at lunchtime at Lark when we can reopen, and doing takeout?
Yeah.
As a way to bring more income in, because one of our chefs is primarily supposed to be doing catering, and we suspect that catering is not going to be in huge demand this year, given people can't gather, right? And that's probably going to hold through most of the year. People are going to be hesitant to do conferences, to do large meetings.
Yeah.
And weddings are being put on hold. So we have to come up with other ways to make sure that we can keep our staff busy and keep them employed. And so we might not look exactly the same when we open in a couple months.
Better, but not the same.
Better, but not the same.
Well, I was just going to say there's real beauty in that, because we all have to continuously improve. And I think that's sort of what you're saying, regardless of what's happening, these factors that we all can't control, there's positivity in it. And one thing I love about both of you, you're always have a quick smile, and the elevated conversation of positivity that, we can do this. It might look different in the future, and we don't even know what it's going to look like. Are we going to be a handshaking, hugging community? I don't know. I don't know what all of that looks like socially, but the positivity you're carrying forward into thinking of other ways to keep your business relevant, your dreams focused, your visions there. You've got your staff's safety and wellness and well-being now at the forefront of your minds, and I think that's key for all of us. I mean, and how can we help this community get through this? It's bigger than any one of us, and I appreciate your perspective on it tremendously. It helps me, and I hope as we just float some of these videos out there, it'll help other small business owners and start conversations like that. But anything else you'd like to add? I really appreciate you guys taking a few minutes.
Well, thanks for having us, Brian. I guess the one thing I'd like to close on is that we may all be social distancing now, and it may need to last for a while, but I do believe in the desire for human connection. I don't see this as the end of restaurants. I hear people gloom and dooming it, and no. Restaurants seem to come back after pandemics. People need to socialize. People need to see each other and hug each other and shake hands and all of that. And when it's safe again, we will, right? And that will be incredible. And I'm going to hug everyone who comes through my doors as soon as it's safe, right? So there's hope. And I think people just need to keep that in mind, that this isn't going to last forever. It's probably going to get worse. It is going to get worse before it gets better. But it will eventually get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's going to be a great party at Lark when we reopen.
Yes. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Right.
Any other ways or reiterations on how people can help support you and your staff right now? You've mentioned connect with your staff on social media, should they be connected already. You mentioned your inbox, info@larkjanesville.com. You're obviously on Instagram and Facebook, and you have your social media for gift
cards. We'll push the gift cards.
Mm-hmm.
So those are available at larkjanesville.com.
Great.
I think that beginning tomorrow, we're probably going to be offering a raffle prize for a gift card buyer that everyone will enjoy very much.
Great.
Surprise.
Surprise. Even to me, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. So.
Well, there's an emoji on my iPhone that looks like this, and it's for the hug sign. So
Well,
sending you guys hugs.
yeah,
I'm back.
by all means, Brian.
Thinking of you guys, and thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Pleasure. Looking forward to a glass of wine with you.
Me too.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.